Welcome to Lore and Lantern, old tales, new adventures. Here, familiar stories are reimagined, retold, and brought to life in voice and wonder. Tonight's tale riffs on the classic story of the Pied Piper, but you know we never play it straight. This version's got a little more swing, a little more snap, and a whole lot of cool you won't find anywhere else. So grab your hats, cats, 'cause it's gonna be a story that's hip, hoppin', and out of sight. Are you ready? The lantern's lit, the chapter unfolds, and a tale begins. The Swingin' Piper. Welcome to the sleepy little town of Riffleton, where the streets are lined with golden maples, the bakery smells of fresh bread and cinnamon, and every window glows with warm lamplight. A perfect town, except there was just one problem: the rats. And I'm not talking about your garden variety nibblers. Oh no, these are slick, sharp, cheese-hoarding big shots. They run the restaurants, the butchers, even the post office. If you want a piece of pie in this town, you'd better clear it with the rat pack first. They called the shots, from the sugar cubes in your coffee to the crumbs on your plate. They strutted around like they owned the town because, well, they did. The townsfolk tried to carry on, but it wasn't easy paying service fees for everything from a sip of coffee to a seat on the park bench. And if you forgot to pay, the rats would leave you a reminder. Half your dinner gone or a hole in your hat, chewed clean through. This went on for a long, long time, until one particularly chilly autumn day when a mysterious stranger strolled into town. Or should I say, swung into town. A sound drifted in on the breeze, soft, cool, and smooth as a cat in two-tone shoes. At first, folks thought it was just the wind whistling through the shutters, but then the notes turned to melody. And with every note, the town seemed to come alive. Shop signs flickered brighter, curtains swayed to the beat. Even the rats froze for a moment, their whiskers twitching to the rhythm. A strange man appeared from behind a lamppost, fedora tipped low, coat swaying with each step, and a golden horn gleaming in the setting sun. He didn't say a word, didn't need to. Each note he played curled through the air like ribbon, wrapping around door frames, bouncing off the streets, even swirling through the leaves at his feet. The Swingin' Piper had come to town, and the music was only just beginning.
"Say, cats, looks like you got a little problem,"
he said, tipping his hat to the mayor in the crowd, gesturing at the rat-packed streets. "Indeed we do, but we have learnt to live with it, I suppose," she responded. "And who might you be?"
"Names are for squares, sister, but let me lay it on the line. You got a problem? I got the solution. You dig?"
"Oh, really? Well, we have tried everything. There is nothing to be done. We have accepted our circumstances."
"That hot jazz, baby! I got a gift, you know. One riff and they're out of here. You got my word as a musician."
"Ha! The word of a musician? Hardly reassuring. Let's hear him out," came a voice from the back. "Yeah, can't get any worse, can it?" The mayor narrowed her eyes and crossed her arms. "All right then, Mr. Musician. What is the price for your so-called hot jazz that will save our town?" The piper grinned, spinning his horn in one hand like a musician with a wand.
"Price? Nothing wild. No tricks, no traps. Just a promise from you fine folks that when the last note fades and the rats are gone, you'll pay me what I'm worth. No haggles, no hassles. Straight square. You dig?"
"All right then. Let's see this music of yours save our town." The deal was sealed, and the musician raised the horn to his lips. As the first note flew into the air, the rats, who were confident and smug just moments ago, twitched their whiskers and froze. Then another note, smooth and sly, wound through the streets, and another. Before the townsfolk knew it, the rats were scampering, tumbling, and squeaking in every direction, chased by the music so irresistible they could hardly resist. They darted through alleys, under carts, and even into the tiniest cracks in the walls, never to bother Riffleton again. Everyone clapped and cheered, dancing in the streets and marveling at the magic of the swinging piper.
There you have it, hepcats,
he said as the last rat scurried down the street and out of town. That was truly incredible, exclaimed the mayor. We are so grateful. Let's celebrate with a good meal.
That's real cool, but I best be on my way. I'll just take the payment, if you please.
Yes, of course. But after dinner, please. Allow us to celebrate this wondrous occasion. Without you, we'd still be overrun with rats. The musician agreed to stay for dinner, where the whole town enjoyed a grand feast, with music and lots of dancing, of course. But at the end of the night, when the piper gathered his things and asked, once again, for payment for his work, the mayor had an excuse. Well, we didn't ask you to come here, and we have fed you a marvelous feast, and we have offered you a warm bed for the night. Isn't that enough? The piper leaned back, spun his horn in one hand, and tapped a rhythm on the table with his fingers. Slow at first, then building into a playful beat. His eyes twinkled as he spoke.
Well, Miss Mayor, I like your town. I like your feast, and the company's swell. I'm happy to stay the night, share a bite, maybe even a tune or two before bed. But remember, promises are promises, and we agreed a job done deserves its due. So let's just say, come morning, the music might remind you, in ways you hadn't quite imagined, that paying a musician isn't optional.
And so he stayed the night, as charming and polite as ever. But the town had no idea that while they slept, he was weaving a little more magic that would greet them at sunrise in the most surprising and swinging way. The next morning sun peeked over Riffleton, spilling golden light across the streets, only to be met with the loudest, wildest, and most unstoppable sound the town had ever heard. Drums. Everywhere, every street, every alley, every doorstep rang with the beat of 100 tiny hands. The children of the town had been enchanted overnight, each one an unstoppable drummer, marching, tapping, thumping, and playing in perfect chaotic sync. The townsfolk rubbed their eyes and peeked out the windows, mouths open in astonishment. What in good Riffleton is going on out here? The mayor shouted as she burst out into the street. The piper stood in the square, leaning against a lamppost, horn tucked under his arm, tapping his foot to the rhythm. A sly smile spread across his face.
Seems to me, he said, that the kittens are awake and feeling the music, and perhaps remembering that a promise is a promise.
The children marched and danced past, their drum beats echoing through every corner, reminding the town of the piper's words the night before. And no matter how clever the mayor's excuses, the music wouldn't stop. Not until the town kept its word. The mayor and townsfolk ran from street to street, waving and shouting, but the music wouldn't stop. No amount of pleading, bargaining, or clever excuses could slow the tiny drummers. All right, we'll pay you. Just make it stop, the mayor finally said, giving up. He raised his golden horn and let out a single smooth note. The drums stilled, and the children froze mid-tap. The town exhaled in collective relief. With a wink, the swinging piper said,
"Now that's what I call swinging justice."
Coins jingled, promises were honored, and the piper counted his payment with a satisfied nod. Then, as suddenly as he had arrived, He slung his horn over his shoulder, tipped his hat, and stepped out into the autumn sunlight, leaving Riffleton quiet, at peace, and grateful. From that day on, the townsfolk remembered 2 things. Never underestimate the power of music, and always, always pay the piper. The end.